Hey guys, so as I go around and talk to people, and we've seen on social media a lot of questions on election integrity. So, especially at the national level. But here in Oklahoma, our system's pretty secure, I believe. And so, but I wanted to bring on someone who I consider a subject matter expert in our election process. We've got Leon Farris. Leon's our Stevens County Republican chair, and he's been involved for a couple decades now and been involved in election process. So, Leon, I
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on.
you bet, Cody. And so, just to uh, one more thing, in addition to being the chair of the Republican Party, I'm also chair of the election board.
Right.
And so, I've got an inside seat that most people don't have to see exactly what goes on in our election process.
Sure. Well, why don't you start us out at the state level and then work us down to county and precinct level? Where do our election laws come from? And then how are they administered down through the process?
Sure. So, Title 26 of the state code outlines how our elections are conducted in Oklahoma. So anybody can get on the internet and search for Title 26, and it's kind of mucky reading, you know how lawyer talk
Yeah.
is, but it's all there, you know. And so everything that we do in our election process is uh, defined in our state laws, defined by the legislature and signed by the governor, and uh, so the law establishes an election board. Uh, the There's a secretary state of the state election board, and then about 7 members from around the state. About half are Democrats, half are Republicans, and so one of the things that makes our election system in Oklahoma very secure is that at all levels, Cody, there's both Republicans and Democrats on every board
Mhm.
at every level. So there's that check and balances between the parties that, you know, we're kind of watchdogging each other. You know, at no point is any one party in charge of what goes on in our election system. It's all uh, done uh, with both parties involved. So you have a state election board, and then each county has an election board. And so in Stevens County, uh, we have 3 members of the election board. Shonda Seeley is the secretary. She's a full-time employee at the election board, and she's one of the members. Uh, Melvin Jones is the Democrat. He is uh, uh, nominated by the Democrat Party in Stevens County, has to be approved by the state election board. And then have been nominated by the Republican Party and had to be approved by the state election board. But that started at the party level. And so I represent the Republican Party on the election board. Melvin represents the Democratic Party. And then at each precinct, when you go vote, there will be 3 poll workers. And at least one of those poll workers has to be a Republican,
Hmm.
and at least one has to be a Democrat. The other one can be either party or an independent, but there must be at least one Republican and one Democrat at each polling place.
Okay.
And so there's lots of technical things that are in place to make our elections very secure. But at, at the very top level is this idea that our elections are controlled by a combination of the parties.
Yeah.
We're watchdogging each other.
Checks and balances.
Checks and balances.
So the day of the election, what happens at the precinct level? How do the precincts get set up and distributed?
All right. So um, before the day of election, a lot of things happen. Uh, People are running for office. Questions get raised. Maybe a bond issue that's going to be on for a particular school district or city or something like this. So ballots are prepared in advance, printed ballots. And so one of the big issues in that we hear about in voter integrity around the country, around the United States, is the, the lack of paper ballots. But that's not a problem in Oklahoma because every voter marks his own ballot, himself or herself, on a paper ballot. So those paper ballots are prepared. And the ballots now are counted by a scanner. Uh, many years ago, they were all counted by hand. My wife was a poll worker back when they had to be counted by hand, and it would take all night sometimes. And we were in a small precinct to get all the ballots counted. It was such a problem because you've got a ballot, maybe got 10 or 15 people on the ballot and issues, and it's just so difficult to count those by hand. Error rate was much higher back when it was hand counted.
Sure.
You hear people clamoring today for hand counting. It's crazy. The machine counting is so much more accurate than hand counting. The problem people have with the machine counting is that in some areas around the United States, the machines are hooked to the internet and have the ability to be hacked, messed with.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true in Oklahoma. So the scanners we use are not hooked to the internet, nor can they be hooked to the internet. To hook them to the internet, it has to have a network interface card. The machines does not have a network interface card. It's impossible to hook it to the internet. Now, you can read all kinds of stuff on the internet about what's wrong with our system, and there's all kinds of people with conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those conspiracy theories just swear that our machines are hooked to the internet. Well, they're wrong.
Yeah,
Cody, they're not. So the scanner is nothing more than a counter, and so it's taught, coded, how to count the ballots, and it's tested. Every way a ballot can be counted, wherever way a ballot can be screwed up and marked wrong, is tested before these machines ever go to the field. Once they pass the test, machines are locked. So, and the day of, when the polling workers unlock the machine, they break the seal that was put on there the day that the test was passed to ensure that nobody's messed with it. Since then, they run a test report to make sure there's no data in the machine, all zeros. And then they start at 7 a.m. People start voting. They mark their ballots. That ballot gets run through the scanner. The scanner just counts how you voted and records that. And then the ballot goes into a locked box.
Okay. In the machine.
In the machine. At the end of the day, the three poll workers unlock the box together. They take all those ballots, put them in a box, and seal it with a tape. And they all sign the tape, and that gets turned over to the county sheriff.
The Republican, the Democrat,
and the other person.
Or another person.
They all put all the ballots in those boxes, tape them up with a seal, and put their signature across the seal. And that goes directly to the county sheriff. Does not come back to the election board. It goes directly to the county sheriff. The county sheriff holds those ballots just like he would hold evidence in a trial. In a secure place until the election has been certified. Once the election has been certified, then those ballots are kept for a minimum of 2 years. Some ballots and some elections are kept for longer than that. But if there's a recount, the sheriff takes those ballots to the district judge, and the district judge breaks the seal and has a team that hand counts the ballots in his presence.
Okay.
So there's just not much way.
There's a chain of custody.
There's a chain of custody
ballots
on those ballots, just like it was evidence in a trial.
Now the machine, how are the count? How are each count at each precinct transferred to the election boards and to the state level?
So each machine has a memory card in it. We would call it a thumb drive. They've got a fancy name for it at the election board. But as that machine counts each ballot, it records those numbers. At the end of the day, 7 p.m., when the poll closes, the three poll workers shut down the machine. There's a process, and they print out a report from the machine that shows what the count is on a tape. There's 3 copies of that report printed. One copy gets taped to the window or door at the polling place,
Okay.
so the public has immediate notification of the values that are in that machine. The second copy gets put inside the box with the ballots
Okay.
that gets sealed, that would only be opened by a district judge.
Okay.
And the third copy comes to the election board. When the machine comes back to the election board, another seal is broken that lets the workers at the election board remove the memory card. They plug it into a computer that is not hooked to the internet, but has a direct data line to the state election board. And that information is transferred. It's encrypted. So if someone was able to interrupt that data stream and get it, with a supercomputer, it might take them a month to break the encryption to do any, and if they're going to change it, they've got about 10 milliseconds to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's impossible.
Sure.
It's impossible for it to be. So those values get transmitted to the state election board. Then once all the precincts have been transmitted, we print out a report from the state election board that shows the values from each machine, each precinct that was submitted.
So you can double check your.
Not only can we do. Melvin and I, the last thing we do before the end of the night is that we double check the printout from the state election board with the tape that came out of every machine.
Okay.
And they have to be perfect.
Y'all agree. Y'all have to agree on that.
And we have to agree on it.
Yeah.
And, so I can say this about the operation at the county election board in Stevens County. I may not agree with Melvin on some political issues. He's a Democrat, I'm a Republican. But the thing we do agree on is we both want fair and equitable elections. We want everybody who's entitled to vote to get an opportunity to vote, and we want their vote counted.
Yeah.
And we work hand in hand to make sure that that is accomplished.
That's good. So as far as breaking down absentee ballots, or we don't have mail-in ballots in Oklahoma, right? We have an absentee system.
No, the absentee system includes mail-in.
Okay.
So you can do either a mail-in absentee or an in-person absentee. And so we call that early voting.
Yeah.
So elections are on Tuesday, but the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for some elections, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for other elections, depends on what kind of election it is, there is early voting prior to, and a person can go to the election board, not to your polling place, to the election board and present your credentials and vote early.
Vote early.
And so how you vote early is exactly the way you would vote at your precinct. You fill out a paper ballot, it gets scanned into a scanner. That scanner is locked and it doesn't get counted until after the polls close at 7 p.m. on Tuesday.
Absentee ballots or early voting is done after the polls are closed?
After the polls are closed, we unlock that machine, take the memory card out, send it to the state. So, and the software, this is interesting, the software in the system is built such that it won't report until after 7 p.m. and the polls close.
So you can't
you
squeeze them
can't.
in there early.
You can't. No, you can't.
How much in general is the absentee and early voting, like percentage-wise of the total polling votes?
It varies from it varies. Yeah, it varies, but it's small, 1 to 2%.
Yeah, 1 to 2%.
Yeah.
So after the election's called, or if a candidate or someone wanted to audit that election, or what's the process?
So polls close at 7 p.m. Typically by 9:30 on any election, we'll have everything in the system and reports are out, and candidates can see whether they win, lose, or draw. And so then the election board meets back at 5 p.m. on Friday. So between the closing of the polls on Tuesday and 5 p.m. on Friday, any candidate can petition for a recount. Uh, if it's within, I think it's like 1%, then it's kind of an automatic recount. But otherwise, it's the person who calls for the recount is going to have to pay for the
Right.
recount. There's a cost to get people together to hand count those ballots, but it can be done.
Okay.
So I was looking at a list yesterday of recounts. There haven't been very many, but over the past few years, 5 or 6. But in every situation, the report, then the count from the machine was exactly what the hand recount showed.
Okay. So it's working pretty good then.
So it's working pretty good. Also, there is an audit process that happens, and most voters don't know this, but after all the dust settles on an election and everything's been certified, everybody's gone on down the road, the state, and this is state law that our legislature put in place back in 2018. A lot of the voter integrity issues have arisen because of the 2020 presidential election. But even before that, Oklahoma had already instituted a system of audit where a certain number of precincts every election gets hand counted just to verify that the machines
Just
are
random
spot
audits.
on, and those audits 100% spot on.
Okay.
So,
they're constantly monitoring the system, making sure
absolutely,
everything's working.
absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think that answers most of our questions. Do you have anything to add on the process or things to make people feel better about the process in general? How can they, is this county election boards and state election boards? Are these people can go there and ask questions, get things?
Absolutely. The county election board is open from 8:30 to 4:30, 5 days a week. Any voter, any citizen can go down to the election board and talk to the staff there, ask questions. The state election board has a really good website. It's just ok.gov/elections, or you can just Google Oklahoma State Election Board and it'll pop right up.
So you can go on there and look up your voter ID number.
So inside the state election board website is a place called Voter Portal.
Okay.
Voter Portal. So you find the Voter Portal, you put in your first and last name and birth date, and your information will pop up. Your voter ID, what precinct you're in, where where that precinct votes, the physical location, all the districts that you're in, what House district, Senate district, school board district, all those things, county commissioner district, everything that you need to know about your voting. Now, one of the things that, just so that people are aware, we keep records of who votes. Okay. So we can go back into previous elections and I can tell you who voted. We do not keep any record of how you vote.
Right. Okay.
So when you pick up a ballot and mark it, that ballot has no identification on it that says
that's
your ballot. It goes through that scanner. There is no way that, and we're going to record the votes on that card, on that ballot, but we have no idea. The scanner has no idea whose card that is. That is not recorded. Your vote, how you vote, is never recorded. The fact that you vote is always recorded.
Okay.
And in Oklahoma, you can only vote one time.
Right.
So once you vote, whether it's by absentee or in person absentee, or in person on the day of the election on the Tuesday, once you vote, that's in the system and you can't vote again. So you can't go to precinct 1 and vote and then go to precinct 2 and try to vote again.
Or early vote and then vote on the day.
Or on early vote. Yeah. It won't let you do it.
That's good. Okay.
Now, we have a system. One of the things that people want to know is that, I want everybody to have an opportunity to vote. Everybody's vote counted. So what if there's a question? there is a way, um, and gosh, my mind just went blank, the name for this, but if if the poll workers say, "Hey, you're not in the system,
Mm.
you shouldn't be voting here, or you're not eligible to
If
vote."
they can't find you in the
Yeah.
book when you show up to vote?
Yeah, so you can fill out a provisional ballot.
Okay.
A provisional ballot. That provisional ballot is not scanned. It's put in a sealed envelope and it comes back to the election board. And then we check out the situation. And if we find this happens occasionally, if we find that there was an error in the database, uh, somebody got stuck in the wrong precinct and you went to precinct 1 to vote, but you were actually listed in precinct 5, but you shouldn't have been. You should have been in precinct 1. Then we're going to take your vote out of that envelope, run it through the scanner, and it's going to count just like everybody else's.
Okay.
If we find that you should not have been voted, that vote stays sealed.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
How do people, what's the timelines of when to register, when to change your party affiliation to an upcoming election?
Well, that's a great question. So the next election we'll have is a primary, and it'll be
like June 16th?
About June 16th, I think, next year. All right. So if you're registered as a Republican or a Democrat, doesn't matter, or Libertarian, when we have the primary election, you may not change your voter registration until the runoff in August. So you can go ahead and do the paperwork, but it won't be effective until after the runoff.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can change anytime you want to, but you need to make changes about 20 days before an election. There has to be enough time. There's an exact cutoff date, and you can go on the state election board and see what the exact cutoff date is for any election. But
before they get all the paperwork going.
But they've got to have enough time to process your change and get it in the system. We do not have in Oklahoma day of registration or day of making changes.
Okay.
And so you need to be thinking a little bit in advance and get that taken care of.
About a month in advance.
About a month in advance. You need to make sure you're registered to vote and that you're registered for the party you want to vote in.
And then, so that you could break down the parties too. If they want to vote in a Republican or Democrat primary,
So in Oklahoma, to vote in a Republican primary, you have to be registered as a Republican.
Independents and Democrats cannot vote in a Republican primary.
No, they cannot. If you're a Democrat, you vote in your Democrat primary. If you're an independent, the Democrats have, and this is an annual election, so and so for the last several years, the Democrats have said we will let independents vote
in their primary.
Republicans and Libertarians cannot, but independents, which in Oklahoma, if you're an independent, you're not in any party,
right?
Which to me doesn't make a lot of sense because you typically don't get to vote in primaries. So my recommendation to people who are independents is
pick a party,
pick a team and get on it.
Yeah.
You're not going to like everything about any team you're on.
Sure.
I'm a Republican. There's some things about the Republican Party that I might not like. But pick the team that best fits your ideology and get on it. Being an independent is not to your advantage.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that answered most of the questions I had. I think it gave us a lot of clarity, Leon.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. So if somebody wanted, are you okay with giving your contact out? If somebody wanted to reach you, or would you say reach your local party if you wanted to get involved and get registered?
You can contact me by email at stevenscountyrepublicans@gmail.com.
Okay.
And
or the county election board or state election board.
The county election board or state election board. You can register to vote online at the state election board, in person at the county election board, or at your auto tag. You can register to vote at your tag agencies.
And if somebody wanted to work polls, do they just contact their county?
Contact the county election board. We always need poll workers.
Sure. That's a paying job, right?
It's a paying job. It is a very strenuous day. don't beat around the bush about that. It's a 14-hour day because the polls are open 12 hours. And so you got about an hour before and about an hour after the polls open that you're working. So you're working a 14-hour day. And I made a pitch a few years ago to break that into 2 groups.
Have shifts.
Yeah, to have shifts. And ran that up the flagpole at the state election board, and they said it's a chain of custody issue.
Yeah.
That
the people who started
the people who started have to be the people who ended,
so they can sign it.
So they can sign it and say we've had custody of those ballots all day and it's secure.
Yeah.
So I get that. It just makes a hard day.
Sure, I bet. Well, I appreciate you breaking it down for us, Leon. I hope everyone got a lot out of it. I think it's on you as the voter to be educated. So for sure, reach out to your local party, reach out to your county election board, reach out to the state election board, or go on the website, and just keep yourself an open mind, do your research, and don't always believe everything you see on social media, right?
Exactly right.
Well, thank you, Leon.
You bet. Thank you for having me, Cody.